wanted to know which planet was causing your suffering? How about Earth?
Hey everyone, Brantflex here, back with a new Duelists of Eden video. For today's video, I want to start a new video series where I talk about cards that I think are very strong, and they're strong to the point where they're either meta-defining or they warp the game's balance around it. Which isn't to say that I think these cards should be nerfed. There's cards that you should be aware of, whether you want to play them or play around them, because they're just that important to understand. So for today's video, I want to cover Whirl. I'll be discussing the frame data, the combos, the easy combos, the hard combos rather, the ways you can work around its weaknesses, the way you can play to its strengths, and the way that you can play around Whirl as the enemy. So without further ado, we can jump right in and start reviewing the frame data of Whirl. So if you guys didn't know how to look at frame data in the game, if you go to the top right corner of the deck builder and press the little lines in the top right corner and click frame data, you can look at the frame data there. Before we do that, we can go ahead and read the flavor text. Whirl is a 1 mana card that deals 2 damage 5 times. And so you can see on the flavor text, it's going to hit 3 tiles away, very specifically, and then it'll also drag its target to the tile. And we'll explore how that works in the game once we get into the training tool. If we go into the frame data, we can see that's a fairly fast spell. It's going to be startup of 7, which is one of the faster spells in the game. However, it is a very laggy spell, and the idea that it forces you to stay in place for about 44 frames. So it's a card that if you read your opponent walking to a place, you'll almost always have priority on the cast, but if you miss, you won't be able to do too much, and you'll be kind of a sitting duck for about half a second. And whether your opponent is fast enough to punish you for the half second will be up to the opponent, but just be aware of that as you're using the card. So the by far most basic combo for Whirl is going to be push slash backstab into Whirl. You can see that at work in this little combo here, where I'm trying to push slash backstab into Whirl. Now you can kind of toy around with this in your own training tool by utilizing the out of stun option with dodge, move, and shield, just to see if like certain configurations work. So the very easy one I want to tell you is that if you push slash and walk 1 tile, if you have backstab still, it's still a true combo, as you can see with the background. But if you were to walk after the backstab, you'll see that there's a gap 4. And now what a gap 4 means is that your opponent will be able to dodge out of the Whirl. Now, the practice tool is bugged at the moment, so if we try and do that with the bot, I will still end up hitting. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to start recording, where I'm just going to go ahead and combo on my end, and then the bot will repeat my combo when I replay it. So I'm going to go push slash, backstab, walk, Whirl. And then, oh shoot, I accidentally reset it. So let me redo that really quickly. So push slash, walk, Whirl. And then so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the bot up 1, and then hopefully this way the bot will do exactly what I did. And I'll show you guys that you can dodge out of the Whirl there. It's just a bit buggy for the bot. So if you're going to be practicing practice tool on this version of the patch, just be aware that out of stun dodge is a bit incorrect. But with the very basic combo out of the way, I want to talk about the kind of more specific spell combo that exists, which is going to be auto slash. So if you guys don't know how invades work, invades will do something that we call anchor canceling. And what anchor canceling is when these spells that would ordinarily hold you in place, if you're on the other side of the field, they no longer hold you in place. And you can see that because of the drag property of Whirl, what's going to happen is that my opponent is going to be forced to move where I walk, because, you know, it's continuing to pull the opponent to somewhere 3 away from me. And so that causes some very funny interactions where you can do this to bombs, you do this to people, and your opponent really just has no choice if you hit the spell to, you know, walk with you. And then this isn't limited to only movement. You can see that if I use spells, I can even use I can cast my W1, which will end up comboing, which isn't something that I comboed before. And that's really important to know, because that opens up a lot of opportunities. Just for example, if I do Whirl here, you can see it's gap 3, so my opponent can shield or walk away. What that allows me to do is that allows me to follow up with a lot of spells that wouldn't ordinarily work out of the spell rotation. So again, keeping in mind that the Whirl will drag, if I stand on this second column and then use auto slash Whirl, it's gonna pull my opponent into the second column, where I can then use W1, walk forward, and then push slash. So this combo earlier that wouldn't have worked because my opponent was camping the 3rd row now suddenly works, because I can use my W1 to confirm the hit, and then I can Whirl, W1 again, and then do a combo afterwards. And this isn't only a Saffron specific thing. If you have stuff like Kunai or another projectile, or just any spell that can combo into Auto Slash, all of these will be true. Just be aware that Auto Slash is a very dangerous spell to cast alone, just like Whirl, because if your opponent is fast, then they'll punish you for it. And you can see that that opens up a combo. And so at the beginning of the video, you probably saw me do a few combos with Whirl, with Auto Slash Whirl. And in my opinion, Auto Slash Whirl is probably one of the most powerful tools in the game because of what it lets you do. Obviously, again, you saw me handle a bunch of very funny looking combos with Auto Slash Whirl. It just lets you do a lot that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do. So I kind of jumped the gun and swapped to Chiretta already just to explore some character specific combos. But if I just go ahead and I can just swap out my W1 for Kunai instead. So, I'll just actually recreate it on Saffron since I already on the idea. So the reason why Whirl is so strong is because, again, it lets you do a lot of combos that you really, I won't say shouldn't be able to do, but it opens up a lot of combos that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do without it. And so here, Triple Barrel, Saffron has the privilege of being able to combo Triple Barrel from Push Slash by weaving a W1 in there. If you're trying to do this combo with any other character, you will need a projectile like Kunai to replicate this. But so, for an example, if I were to be playing Saffron in a game and my deck was running these cards, if I were to hit a W1 confirm into All Slash Whirl, then what I can do is very similar to what I was thinking about earlier, where I can do Sparkler Step into a Whirl auto combo, and then press the, so I did the combo wrong there. It's gonna be Sparkler Step into Whirl, and then I can walk forward, and then hit W1. So you can see that I'm a bit out of practice with this combo as I'm continuously messing it up. You can see there, it's going to be an easy 38 damage combo. And so if I have a spell like Thunder, then I can always end up with Thunder in the back. And you can tell that this combo is a bit mechanically intensive. Like, it's not to say that this combo is easy to pull off, but it's something you should be aware of because it adds a lot to your game plan. So if you're using Whirl and you have Auto Slash, you are always going to want to know exactly what spells combo what way, because if you don't know, then you're missing a lot of damage out on the table. So right now, I just got a 45 damage combo, and I'm personally probably going to practice doing this combo a lot if I'm ever going to try and run this in an actual game, because being able to hit that 45 damage combo will be the difference between me losing and winning if my opponent has, you know, a similar damage deck. And so the other characters I want to go through, or the other character I want to go through rather, is going to be Chiretta, purely because Chiretta is a character that doesn't necessarily have to run Push Slash or the steps at all, because Chiretta has her W1. And this is just another idea where it's a very bread and butter card, because you can see here Chiretta, if you hit the sweet spot on her W1, then you can use Whirl, which will be a really big amount of damage, especially if you catch your opponent at the very bottom of the grid, where you just kind of walk your opponent upwards and then Whirl at the very end, which will be, you know, not the most mana efficient combo, because you do use I think it's 4 mana total. You do 19 damage for 4 mana, which is pretty close to being efficient. Most of the damage is being carried by Whirl, and you can see that at the end of it, my mana does regen by quite a lot, because again, this is a 4 mana combo. By the time it's over, I've already regened 2 mana. And that's another thing that you should be aware of with Whirl. If you are on the front column of your row, if I cast Whirl, you can see at the very end of the cast, when I can move again, it has refunded almost 70% of my mana. So that's why Whirl is, again, a very powerful tool, because it refunds so much mana if you hit it that can let you do combos that you usually wouldn't be able to do with any other card. For example, with Thunder, if I were to use Thunder and, you know, count the mana regen from Thunder, by the time, oops, wrong card. By the time I can act again, Thunder has only really recovered like 20% of its mana, right? Which is a lot less than Whirl. Whirl does let you get a lot back. And so that's why I think it's a meta-defining card, because it just lets you deal so much damage if you hit it. Again, not saying that it's easy to hit. There are ways to make it easy to hit, such as, again, Chiretta, Weapon 1, using Auto Slash, being confirmed from various weapons like Saffron, Violet, you know, even Dreadworm. There are ways to confirm into it, and so you just have to learn how to play around those spells as well. And so the ways to play around Whirl, if you happen to run into it, are unfortunately just going to be playing around the threat spells that they have and then play around Whirl itself. So obviously the easiest way to play around Whirl itself is to simply not ever be in the front three columns. And your opponent might be able to knock you into it, like with backstab, with push or pull spells. And so what you have to do is you have to watch their deck very carefully and see where those spells lie in their hand. So if I were to just go out, and let's just go into this VO deck that I have because it's one of the decks I have with Whirl and Backstab. So if we were to look at the deck that's on the enemy Saffron bot, I can see Backstab and Whirl pretty far away from each other. I can always assume that this other Violet player might be trying to hold Backstab for a while so they can combo with Whirl, but then I can always try and bait the Backstab out by sitting on my back column and then walking forward to get them to burn Backstab. And then that way, the only spell that I realistically have to play around at the end is going to be Auto Slash, assuming that Auto Slash wasn't used beforehand. And so that way, Whirl is a lot more dangerous for the opponent to use because they've used the spells that really benefit Whirl to the max. Keep in mind that Violet does have the, again, the privilege of pulling you in with their weapon into Whirl range, but that's just a straight line, right? You just want to be in the back, play around that, and then try and wait for your opponent to shuffle, and you can punish your opponent there. Now, unfortunately, if you get hit by a Whirl, there's not much you can do. As you saw in the intro little cutscene, Whirl combos can deal a lot of damage. I personally think that they are by far the highest damage combos in the game. Really only rivaled by stuff like Kinetic Wave that go into things like Ragnarok and Triple Barrel. Triple Barrel is a card that we can discuss at a later date, but it's very similar to Whirl, where it's very, very damage efficient and very, very quote-unquote slow. So because your opponent is going to be delayed during the hit stun, once again, they will be, you know, stuck in that. They'll be stuck in animation, you'll be stuck in animation, and you regen the mana, so you're technically better off. And so the biggest nightmare that you can have with Whirl. Oh yeah, this is right. So this actually will end up happening on Chiretta a lot. So imagine Kinetic Wave is Chiretta's first weapon. So what's gonna happen is that you're gonna get caught by the Chiretta. They're gonna Kinetic Wave into Triple Barrel. Move Ragnarok up a little bit so you can actually see the full combo. They're gonna do Kinetic Wave into Triple Barrel, into Ragnarok, into Whirl, or into Backstab, into Whirl. You can see it's a 59 damage combo. That is by far one of the highest damage combos in the game outside of certain shenanigans going on. And we can add bombs to really add to that damage value. So once again, imagine I'm Chiretta, you can subtract 5 damage from the Kinetic Wave if you want to be a stickler about it, but you can do the pushback to this. And you just see, like, wow, 71 damage. Again, a lot of these spells are very powerful, but this is just kind of what I mean by these spells, like these high damage spells that play off, that play very well off, rather, off of very strong starters, will always be meta defining. So went on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully I explained kind of all the things I want to about Whirl. This is a work in progress, and Whirl is kind of the top of mind in my head when I think of a card that defines the game for me. And so hopefully it was useful. As you're exploring Whirl on your own character, I would really, really recommend seeing how your character's weapons interact with Whirl, whether it's being able to confirm into it. So again, with Saffron, Sparkler Step or Wave Sparkler, you know, W1 walk into Whirl, that's a confirm. Violet, W2 spam into Whirl, that's a confirm. Stuff like, you know, Hazel, if you use your wrench, you can then walk backwards and then Whirl, and that's not a true combo because they got 2, but it's a lot of shield pressure, and being able to shield pressure your opponent will never be a bad thing because that's 10 damage to the shield, and if they're not respecting the bonk into the Whirl, then they might just take the damage. And also, again, with Hazel, you can always hit W2 into Whirl as well. So please experiment with your interactions, experiment with the interactions into Auto Slash, because Auto Slash is the best confirm into Whirl. Experiment into the ways you can pressure your opponent into coming into the front row so that you can hit them with Push Slash, and experiment with ways you can push them into the back row so you hit them with Backstab. Knowing all of these methods to enable Whirl will make your gameplay with it a lot smoother. And again, don't forget that if you have Whirl and you have none of these enabling cards, you're always good to just shuffle it away. It is a lot of damage on the table, but if you miss it and your opponent's on top of it, you will get hit, you will get punished, and your opponent might be able to flip the game on you because of that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll try and refine it more for the next video that I'll try and push tomorrow. But with that said, have a good day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.